Oops. Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 100 with the blazing Asian Matt Heidenreich. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you are not a member of our private Facebook group, you should be, because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I am one of your hosts. I want to let you know this podcast is censored. If you have children in the car, you don't need to worry about turning it off because we'll keep it as clean as we possibly can. I also want to tell you about the marvelous and fantastic app that we have for Lift Heavy Run Long, where we have programs that are designed by the great Valerie Hunt that incorporate both running and strength and conditioning into your workouts. So you can do some interval training, some long run training, and incorporate weightlifting and body weight workouts. For $3.99 a month, you can be subscribed to the Lift Heavy Run Long Daily, which is a barbell strength workout, a WOD, and a body weight workout 5 times a week. You'll also be subscribed to the Lift Heavy Run Long community on the app, where we can keep up with each other's progress, and we're forming a good community over there. For $9.99 a month, you can have access to any of the programs that Lift Heavy Run Long has to offer. The point of this is to get fitness to as many people as possible who might need fitness in their life. If you know somebody who is in a rut or is going through some difficulties and can't afford $3.99 a month, and that you think that fitness might do them some good, then email me at wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com, and they are welcome to use the app free of charge. Get on the app. Valerie Hunt is available with any of your questions. She is probably the most available trainer that you will find in the world, and also the most knowledgeable. She's incredibly on the ball, on the hop, and willing to help and easy to work with. I have to my right the most attractive woman in the world. I've got such a major crush on you, I can't even tell you.
You just did.
Did I?
You just did.
But I can't put into words how big the crush is. You're wonderful. It's my wonderful wife, the amazing Dr. Amanda Kimsey Horrell, also known as Jacked and Tan.
Thank you.
How
Hi.
are you?
I'm doing well. How
Episode
are you?
number 100.
100.
Are we killing it or what?
We are killing it.
We've done good.
Pretty fantastic.
You're fantastic.
I was going to get confetti cannons from Scott Hollis, but he never followed through with it. He said it would be super messy, but I tried.
Yeah.
I was going to scare the shit out of everybody. I just said a bad word.
Yeah. That was awesome.
We're like 2 minutes in.
If you're in your car with your kids on Facebook Live, sorry.
Yep, the live part, not a whole lot we can do about that.
Sorry.
But I thought about that. The confetti cannons would have gone off, and then there would just be
It'd been
confetti
cool.
on the floor
Yeah.
for the next.
You'd be
Ever.
finding it for years.
It'd been funny,
you know
though.
how hard it is to clean up these floors with all these wires and stuff around
I don't.
everywhere?
I hope no.
I don't either. I haven't cleaned them
I was
up.
going to say, have you cleaned? Because I don't
It's
think
just a
so.
hypothetical question.
No, the last time the floor got dirty, we just laid a new floor.
Exactly.
So we're just gonna keep
Pretty
laying new
soon we'll be
floors.
sitting like 3 feet off the ground.
So Grayson graduated to a middle schooler this
Yes.
week, and you were very kind to rearrange your schedule and go to his school for graduation, be there for him.
Yeah, that's important.
Super sweet, and I appreciate that.
Yep, he did awesome. And he got a special award for the gym. I don't even know what the official name of it is, but he got
Like most improved, most encouraging.
most encouraging, good
Yeah.
sportsman, showing most good sportsmanship.
Comes by that
sportsmanlike.
naturally.
Yeah.
Just being a good guy. Grayson's a good
Comes
guy.
by it naturally.
You think that's it? I don't know.
Or it's, it's Amanda's influence. I'm not sure.
I think it's probably a lot of Amanda's influence more than anything else.
I have one exiting 5th grade as well.
Ah,
And we had this conversation about what is middle school,
It changes.
all right? And I said, well, middle school, I don't know. I guess it's just 6th grade because I thought 7th grade was junior high.
Middle school is
that's
6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah.
It used to
Okay,
be just 7th and 8th, and then at some point they incorporated 6th.
We got the
into
guy
it.
with the answer sitting right next to
That's right.
Amanda
There we go.
with Matt Heidenreich. And he's got do you have a degree in psychology or something, child
No.
psychology?
No, I would not
Yes.
meet any qualifications in that space.
You got a lot of knowledge, and you're a hell of a good father. I know that, and I admire you for that. And the things that you have just said while sitting here on this couch have been pretty insightful.
I appreciate that. Parenting is probably like most endeavors, and you make mistakes and adjust and recalibrate, and the last kid gets the best deal. Like that's how that works.
That is exactly how that works.
And you've got 3 of them.
I do. So, the daughter probably will be the best, well-rounded, because I made lots of mistakes with the boys.
What ages are they?
My oldest is 19 now. My middle son is 15, and my daughter's 13.
You didn't make too many mistakes if the 19-year-old is on scholarship at Auburn. You're doing something
Oh.
right.
Yeah,
Nice.
I lucked out there. He, he was good at school, and he, didn't have to motivate him much. Kind of did his own thing. I didn't have to force a hand there, so I kind of got lucky.
Well, we ran into a little bit of a scheduling concern because Grayson's baseball team was going to be doing their tournament play, and that was going to possibly run into Wednesday, which is today when we're recording the podcast. So I thought that we might have to move it to Thursday, and y'all know how I am anyway. I was getting all worked up about how we're going to do this, and y'all are like, that's fine. Matt's like, I'll strangle you if you even think about missing your son's game. Like, that's just not, we're not doing this podcast while your son's playing a championship baseball
There you
game.
go.
And I knew that already, that wasn't going to be the case, but it was nice to get, that kind of affirmation from somebody who I respect as a parent the way that I do Matt. And we'll get back to him and his wisdom after we introduce the Reverend Vaughn Rawls.
Hello. I'm here.
You doing okay?
I'm doing good.
You did good today. You did good running your half mile today at the gym. That was a hell of a time.
Yeah, that was an awesome time.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Have you ever ran it that fast?
What was
yeah,
the time?
I have 2:46.
2:46, 800 meters. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I should be able to run faster than that, but I'm kind of
Oh,
fat
seriously?
right
Seriously?
now. But here's
I
the thing.
think you have the high
Yes-
score on Sugar Wad, and I should have run it faster. Nobody in our gym can just take the graciousness of
No.
okay, I was the fastest today.
No, they can't. I can't either. I know.
Well, I can't. Well, okay, I'll get into that.
We always have to give disclaimers for why I shouldn't have done that well, or I could have
Here's the
done better, or
thing.
what I should have done instead.
Okay. Yesterday, Bert, the dude in our gym, smoked me in the 400s. It was because I was running. I was running in 400s, and I ran pretty good, 1:30. He ended up with 1:20. So I was like, oh well, I didn't run hard enough.
As the running coach for the gym, you felt like you needed to set some
always
ground
have to
rules.
win.
No, it's not that. It's kind of that. It's something else, which is a longer conversation. But so today I was like, I'm just going to go all out. This is 1-800. I can run an 800. And so that's what I did. And then Sid was behind me, another dude at the gym who was like
Who's
footsteps
also very fast.
Yes.
right on my tail. And I was like, well, I can't let him pass me. And so I did well. But then my friend Rob Connor posts on Instagram. He's like, you just did one at 2:40. And I'm like, that's the caveat, which is, yes, you should be able to run a 5:15 mile, which means your 800 should be like 2:30, 2:20 something. So
So back to the fact that you had a really fast 800 today.
I did. I felt like I did, especially since I'm not working out, haven't been for a while, and I'm kind of out of shape. I felt good about it. Yeah.
Hey, round is a shape.
Round
That's
is a
what
shape.
I keep telling myself.
It is a shape. Yeah.
You want to talk about in shape? Let's talk about in shape. Let's talk about our camera guy, Brian Swanson.
Talking about out of shape. Brian
No,
Swanson.
you were looking good, dude.
Look how big your arms are.
Look how he's sitting there.
Yeah, you know you're looking right.
No, I don't really, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I thought you were
I'm
on.
not going to do what Vaughn did and talk you guys out of the fact that of whatever you're saying.
I thought you were on the fit train.
See,
I am. I'm working on it. It's been hit or miss for the last few months, but I'm kind of. This week I'm back on it. I'm doing something every week, a couple of times a week, but nothing like the level that I want to be at.
Yeah.
But I'll get there. I'm just my motivation ebbs and flows right now.
Well, you've been busy, I'm sure, developing the new
The
Lift Heavy
new
Run Long app
HRL app. That's correct.
that you should
So
be
many
working on.
sleepless nights.
Have we haven't found a developer yet? There's
haven't-
nobody out there who is willing to take the time to
Man, you can outsource that stuff to India for like $3 an hour.
code that
story.
stuff.
good.
We just have to
For
figure.
real.
We just have to figure out what we want first.
Can
and
you
that's the
make it
bigger
happen?
problem.
Can you have somebody design us an app?
I can probably
For-
put you in touch with people.
We got like $60.
You can probably get 2 apps for that.
Probably a month. Probably paying $60 a month.
Could be.
I just think that somebody should be contacting and saying, "I'm your guy. I've been dying. I've been following y'all, and really, what I want to do is put this thing together."
What you have to watch out for that, I think, and maybe Brian can back me up on this a little bit, is somebody would do that, and they'd be like, "Man, I'm going to write you an app," but
Yeah.
then they go and get like this third-party like iPhone app thing that like build your app
Yeah.
for
The DIY?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't. The guy that can actually build the app isn't even listening to us right
Yeah.
now.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, like.
He's probably
there
getting
are,
paid
there are
hundreds
nerds
of
that
thousands of
run.
dollars a year.
There are nerds that run and lift and stuff like that.
That's
you and
true.
I are good examples of that.
That's true, but neither of us has the time to build something in that.
We both have the time. We don't have the interest.
That's not true. That's another conversation to have. But what I'm saying is the guy that could do that is not the guy probably that is going to come and go, "Hey, I'll build you an app for $60." It's not.
Not for $60.
Right,
I'll
it's
agree
not
with that.
I want him to do it for free, and then I want another guy to say, "You know what? If he's going to do this for free, then we need to set y'all up as a corporation. We need to sell shares and let me handle that, and then we just sit back and wait for it to develop." But none of this is happening.
None of it.
But
Yeah.
until then,
Yeah.
we'll just keep on putting out podcasts and writing blogs that don't have anything to do with fitness.
Maybe by episode 200, we'll have the new app.
That's a good goal to reach. We are on episode 100, and I want to thank everybody that's been a part of it because it's a lot. 100 episodes is a lot. That's a lot of
Starting from way back in the day, you guys sitting in recliners in the garage.
with one microphone. Sound like we're in a wooden church.
Was it like the karaoke microphone? Like you pass back and forth?
It was one. What's it called? No, not that. The Blue Yeti. I can't even remember the name of that particular
Yep.
microphone.
Yep.
Like not condenser or dynamic, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, it sounds like you're preaching to a choir.
Like a Johnny Carson microphone?
It's very hollow. You hear the whole. It picks up everybody in the room.
Oh.
It's just not very conducive to.
I'll have to go back and look at it.
If you hear a podcast and you say, "God, this podcast is hard to listen to," that was our setup. That was our podcast. So 100 weeks, 100 episodes. That's pretty impressive, and it's a lot of commitment. And I thank y'all for continuing to do it because it's hard to adjust your schedule, especially with families and kids, and everything gets in the way.
Make it work.
You made it work. Guess what we got?
Wait a minute. Is it a 5-star review?
If we have a review, I feel like I've already read it.
Oh.
You think you have? Have you? You're supposed to stay off of there.
I've been on it every day like the last 2 weeks.
He's cheating.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something that you don't know,
What's that?
that we have 2 of them.
Okay.
You want me to read both of them, or since you already know? Do you
No,
wanna-
I don't know that I don't know. Or not.
Amanda and I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, I've memorized them. I can read them without even looking at it.
Did you write both of them?
I don't know who wrote either one of them. So we're gonna have to figure this out.
Okay.
My favorite podcast that isn't about murder.
That's my favorite line.
That sounds like Vaughn.
And it's by Sean, SHOHN 1976.
Sean and I already have a lot in common.
I drive a lot for work, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, usually about murder and crime. I've tried many podcasts about running and many about lifting, and I usually get bored after a couple of episodes. Not the case with LHRL. You guys keep me entertained and don't give me nightmares. I totally relate to your topics as I run half marathons, do CrossFit, and dabble in powerlifting. I look forward to each episode. Keep up the great work. How about that?
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's
That is
excellent. Y'all want to hear another one? Because I got another one,
Because you have another
and
one.
it's got a bunch of stars. I can't really tell how many that is.
6.
It looks like all of them, though. Black Sheep Found My Flock. That's by Minnie and Me Lifts. I found you guys by way of Annie Gun Show, episode 93. I always thought I was crazy loving my heavy lifting, then fell in love with running too. I felt like the black sheep in my powerlifting community and in my running community. Until I found you. I found my flock. I no longer feel alone. I absolutely love listening to the podcast and just became an official member on the app. Loving the workouts and coaching by Valerie is phenomenal. I've learned so much just by listening because I was too afraid to ask my peeps, because they look at me like I have 2 heads. I'm always checking to see if there's a new one. I'm currently listening to old shows. Thanks for the excellent content.
Wow.
How about that?
That's awesome. Who's that by?
That is by Minnie and Me Lifts.
Okay.
So the first review is from Kelly Greer because she's watching live right now.
Oh, you're kidding me.
The one about the murder?
Yeah.
All right.
And I was like, it's totally not me, even though Sean rhymes with Vaughn.
She
And-
just posted that she literally it posted on her husband's name. She didn't realize that, but she said she only got on long enough to watch the live feed to hear if we read the review. Now she's getting off so that she can listen to the podcast later in the car.
Oh, okay. I thought she's like, I just want to hear my podcast and then stop listening to this
I
crap
too
garbage.
listen to all the murder podcasts, so there you go.
Well, so Kelly is basically saying that she has another account where she could write another review if she accidentally put it on her husband's.
Right.
Which would
So
be great.
You did it on your husband, so now you can do it on your own account.
Everybody out there needs to be more like Kelly and leave reviews. I don't think people understand the amount of good it does to me and my meanness.
And his psychosis.
It's a lot. To read that we have 5-star reviews like really cranks me up.
Yeah, I mean, you leave like a blank 5 minutes in the episode every week that we don't have a review, just like a moment of silence for.
I cut that out. We sit here for like 7 minutes and don't say anything, and I cut it out. Sometimes I just cry. So if you're watching or listening, please leave us a review.
Especially if you enjoy it.
It means so much.
Especially if you don't enjoy it.
Wait, what?
We want to hear that too.
No, we don't.
You can
Yeah,
send,
we do.
You can
No,
send
we
an email
don't.
to Vaughn at Lift Heavy Run Long if you don't
Dude,
enjoy the
yeah,
podcast.
send it to Vaughn. I don't need any kind
Constructive criticism.
I can't handle any kind of criticism at all unless it's
Constructive
positive.
criticism. That's how
There
we grow.
was one that was like, I thought you were going to talk about lifting weights and running, but he still gave us 5 stars.
I don't know.
That was the 1-star person, wasn't
I
it?
think that was the
Was
one
there
star.
one?
That was the 1 or 2-star, whoever it was.
They said like 5 stars. Like, are you kidding me? 5 stars? Like, these guys are terrible.
Maybe that's what it was, yeah.
It's like they don't even talk about lifting or running, and their guests they don't even let their guests talk, which is exactly what we're doing
Exactly.
right now.
We're
It's a very honest.
we're
There's
already
the,
like 15
like
minutes
the,
into
the angry
episode.
Amazon customers who say, I would leave no stars if I could.
Yeah.
That was it.
Exactly.
That was pretty much
Exactly.
it. Don't be giving any ideas, man. Let's see what
I
else
read
we
that today
got.
on a business that I Googled. I laughed and went in there. They were fine. It's just funny.
We'll be switching back to Thursday in a few weeks because we've had the schedule change around.
Yep.
2 things. We got the Chris Hope Foundation 5K and 10K October 6th. You need to join that and join Team LHRL. We're doing the race in Memphis, Tennessee, or Olive Branch, Mississippi, I guess. But there's also a virtual race, so you can do it from anywhere. It's going to be fun. We've got a 5K and a 10K 6-week program on the LHRL app that we're going to give you for free if you sign up for the race. So get signed up. We'll send you the app 6 weeks before the race starts. We'll all be in one community on the app, and we'll get to have fun and poke some fun at each other and watch each other progress and do well at the 5K
Show
and
up
10K.
race day and knock it out.
Show up race day and knock it out. You'll be all prepared because of Valerie's program. Big Hill Pond, walking tall. 25K and 50K. If you can do Chris Hope's 5K, then you shouldn't have any problems with the 50K at Big Hill Pond. I think you need to get signed up for that.
It's totally the same thing.
The terrain on the mean streets
I'm
of
sure
Olive Branch,
Chris
Mississippi
kind of
is
dies every time he
almost
hears
just
that.
as
Like,
bad.
oh.
Are you signed up for that, Matt?
No, I told Brian, who's the race director, that I'd help him take care of run supplies around or whatever needs to happen there first. And if he doesn't need me, then we'll talk about it. But I'm a small race kind of guy.
If he doesn't need you, you can run the LHRL aid station.
Speaking of the LHRL aid station, have you talked to Brian about?
I haven't. I totally have dropped the ball on that. I apologize. I'm going to make it happen, though.
Do you remember why I didn't want to have an LHRL aid station?
Because you don't want to have to deal with it.
Because people drop balls. And because I don't want volunteers saying, yeah, I'll be there, and then not being there. And you feel that people will show up, will say, I'll do that, and yet you haven't even asked if we can have volunteers there to not show up.
When is that race again?
October.
Exactly. You can just stop there. October. There's plenty of time to figure it out.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I get worked up.
No, it's fine.
So I do have a question for Vaughn really quick.
All right.
So you wrote the training for Tunnel Hill 50 miler last year.
Yeah.
When do I need to start looking at that?
2 weeks ago.
What? When do I need to start seriously looking at that and trying to follow that program?
For Tunnel Hill,
For Tunnel
in
Hill
November?
in November.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6-month thing. That spreadsheet was.
Okay.
Because we started super early for that. And so I would go look at it now.
Okay.
It's on the.
There are a couple people that have already started it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I saw where you tagged Vaughn or Dawn or
Yeah.
somebody.
That's the spreadsheet.
Okay.
And I mean, it was way back in June when we started for Tunnel Hill.
Okay.
When I said I was going to run 100 miles and did that whole spreadsheet. So, yeah, the whole thing is there the whole entire 6 months.
Okay.
But too bad if you're not in the Vaughn's Runners group because you won't get
Yeah,
it.
it's
You
in the
gotta sign
Vaughn's
up for
Runners
the-
group on Facebook, everybody.
You got to sign up for the LHRL app now.
I was thinking about that the other day, that when we did start training for Tunnel Hill, or whatever you want to call what we did for Tunnel Hill, that
Trained a little bit.
we started doing interviews for the documentary, and Memorial Day Murph was the second one. So
Okay.
we were already
Yeah, so-
pretty thick into it.
Gotcha.
Weeks
I
into it.
thought it was super early, so it might be 7 months.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That was a lot of getting geared up for a lot of not training, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But it still was a good time. It was a good year.
But that's a great spreadsheet to follow. Like I put a lot of energy into that, and you could totally follow that to do what you want to do, even though most of us just kind of half-assed it.
I just kind of ran a bunch of races, but
Yeah.
Dawn said it was really beneficial, so I'm going to try it out.
Is everybody going back to Tunnel Hill this year? Who's going back?
I'm going back.
They're talking about going. I will go back. I don't know that I'll run or not. I'm still kind of considering that.
We're signed up, right?
We're signed up.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
I should decide the weekend of.
You kind of just decide about 24 hours before every race that you're going to do.
Pretty much. It really comes down to how far they allow registration.
You just got your truck sitting on G waiting on O all the time.
Yeah,
throwing your gear on.
You got an ultra bag in the closet, grab and go.
You always seem to be doing that. Like, I just kind of woke up this morning and thought I'd drive to Florida and run this
100-mile race.
100-mile race. No problem.
Must be nice to be in that kind of shape.
You ran over 20 ultras.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
That's a lot. Over 27. You've run 27 marathons.
Yeah.
20 ultras. How did you get there? What was your first race?
First race was actually the one coming up tomorrow, Zoom Through the Zoo, ironically.
No kidding.
Yeah, 2011. I started running in...
Only in 2011. That's
Yeah.
not that long ago, is it? I can't do the math.
It's 7 years.
Yeah, this is ironically,
It's almost
that'd
like
be the
6
7
years
years.
ago.
Yeah. But, yeah, I had started running in the spring just to do something. And I thought, I don't even know what I'm doing. But I thought, well, maybe I'll try a race just to see what that's about. And the next one coming up was the Zoom Through the Zoo. So I showed up to that and ran my guts out and did terrible.
What is terrible for you?
It was like
Did you have any athletic background prior to 2011?
I wrestled in high school.
Here we go. Now we're talking.
Damn wrestlers.
Yeah, the wrestlers will
They're-
kill you.
You just can't beat those
No,
guys
you can't.
at anything.
Uh-uh.
If they want to beat you, they'll beat you.
Where'd you go to high school?
Coronado High School in El Paso, Texas.
All right. And you a pretty good wrestler?
I was all right. I wrestled I had to cut weight. There were two of us in the same weight class, so I had to cut weight down to the 103-pound weight class.
Do you have cauliflower ear?
No, I got lucky. You know, we used headgear, so.
I wish I had
I like that.
cauliflower ear. Whenever I see somebody with cauliflower ear, I'm like, I don't want any part of that guy. He'll kill you.
You been punch you in the head a few times every day, and
I'm just gonna rub my ear up against the carpet. You know, like sometimes Charlie does when he gets wet and he's drying off. He'll
We'll
come
just
home.
hang you out the side of a truck and just drag you along the driveway, and
Let's do that.
we'll take care of it real quick.
I gotta say, former wrestlers have been my favorite people to come into the gym because they just don't care about anything. All they want to do is go like 150% and throw up.
Because that's what
and
you
then-
do in
and then
wrestling.
come
You
back.
for
You know,
was
like,
it 3
Jesus.
minutes?
Well, so it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes
Yeah, 2
around,
minutes at a time.
and it's 2 minutes of going 150 miles an hour until you just completely gas out.
It is 2 minutes, so it's it's typically three rounds if it goes that long. But so 2 minutes break, 2 minutes break, 2 minutes. So everything you do and train for is very compact and full steam.
They've basically been doing Metcons their entire training.
They have, and rolling around in other people's sweat on the floor. So, like, the CrossFit gyms are typically like not the cleanest gyms in the whole wide world, so they don't care about that. They're like, yeah, rawr, let's go.
Well, it's actually probably more pleasant because you don't have your face in some guy's crotch at the gym most likely. So
Do you know? Even though you wrestled, how many years ago?
20 plus.
20 plus years ago, do you realize that you have a significant advantage over any person that is going to be any physical altercation that you may or may not run into, that you have a very high leverage on?
No, most of the people I assume I have some form of martial arts training, so that nullifies any requirements for wrestling anyways.
So all you have to do is like,
Just give it-
Yeah, so
they're like, oh,
they're just
man.
like, oh, I can't mess with that guy. He probably knows karate. So
he started in a crane technique and then went immediately to like a double leg takedown. Like, how do you stop that?
that usually is a pretty big deterrent just genetically.
Oh man, that's funny. What did you have any success in wrestling, or did you just do it as a hobby?
I was okay. I did pretty well. I was undefeated my junior year.
That's extremely well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really well.
My parents moved my senior year, which kind of threw a wrench in my plans. But so yeah, I was 6-0 my senior year, and then they moved, and that kind of ended my wrestling career.
So then after that, any athletics?
No, I'd play pickup basketball with my brothers, church league basketball once every couple of months.
Did you get fat?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started having kids, and so baby weight for the mother, and then I gained baby weight, but she had
Sympathy.
the baby and I didn't.
Right.
So I kept my baby for like 12 years.
And then what it looked like when you said, I'm going to go run?
It was ugly.
Yeah. Just, honey, I'm going to go out for a,
gonna go zoom to the zoo.
I'm going to go zoom through a zoo
Did you
and see
do
what
like
happens.
couch to 5K or?
No, I had divorced and moved back to relocate to Memphis. And I worked from home. I didn't have any friends. I don't really have any friends now, but I didn't really know anybody either. So I thought, I should probably do something with myself besides just hang out at the house and wait for the kids to come home from school. So I dug out like the nastiest pair of Nike shoes I had from like 1996 out of my closet. Put them on and tried to run. And I made it like a house and a half before I nearly died. And then like I tried again later and made like 3 houses and then 5 houses and eventually like to the stop sign, which is like a quarter mile away. So yeah, and then once I realized that I could run, I thought, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I like most people, I got on the internet. Like, how do you run? Like,
Fast.
Hey Google, how do you run? So I started to absorb the concept of running and the science of running, which I didn't understand. I thought, I think growing up, most people watch the Olympics or some kind of high caliber athletics, and you think people are just born gifted. And I think there are a lot of people are born gifted, but I didn't truly understand that there are mechanics and a science to running until I was probably a year or 2 into it. That you have to understand how your body metabolizes food and how you quickly can build muscle and have to build tendon strength and ligament. All that science of running, made sense. Once I put all that together, then it made more sense of how to come at it. But the first year or 2 was really just running to run with no real plan or goal or destination, just to do something.
Are you having any success at this point? Are you winning local 5Ks?
No. I won one 5K years ago and quit running 5Ks.
So you're still the champ?
So I retired from that race and all 5Ks. And then I started moving to longer distances. Not so much because I didn't like short distances, but I thought, why not? Right? There's more things out there. So I found some half marathons and some marathons, and I kind of did that for a while. I thought that I would like to Boston qualify, but turns out I'm not fast enough for that. So I left marathon running a couple years ago, mostly because I stumbled onto ultras. Not really intentionally. I actually found a race that was a timed race. It was a 6-hour race. It was in a trail in the woods, and I thought, well, I'll just go do that and try it out. And actually, it kind of stuck, and so I left a lot of my road running behind and found trails, and haven't really run much on the road since.
How long ago was that?
2015. So coming up on 3 years.
So once you hit the trail, that was about all. Your road days were over.
Very seldom. Somebody has a race that's a big, something locally. It's important. I might show up to support it. But generally speaking, what I found was even at a small town road race, people are very high-strung about their goals. And that's okay. Like, I think it's good to have goals. I gave up goals when I had kids. But,
I totally get where you're going with it.
But, for regular people who still have goals, they want PR 5K or 10K or a half or a marathon. And it's important to them. So, they bring a lot of that stress and tension and, competitive aspect to the racing, which is important, I think. It fuels a lot of people. At this point, just generally, I just want to go out and hang out and have a good time. Meet some new people, have a new experience, see a new place, and, I'll run for a while.
Running a 5K really hard
It's terrible.
sucks.
Oh, it is.
I would
So
rather
bad.
run 100 miles,
No, it
to
really
be
is.
honest. Like, it's such a painful...
When you put everything you got into it.
It's, yeah.
For
And you
3
can't,
miles.
yeah, and if you're going to legit run a 5K for time or competition, you have a very regimented, structured plan for a minimum of 12 to 16 weeks, and you can't fudge on it. And so if you're not willing to dedicate that time, you're basically just wasting all that time to run an average 5K.
That's right.
You've basically described my entire running
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, that's a really long time to train for a 5K. I didn't know you did that.
Well, I mean, you're talking about like a 17-minute 5K or less.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
where
like-
you're really going after, knocking off, time or, PR, or even going after a race win, right? I mean, I can tell you when all I ran was 5Ks in the beginning. Well, because, I didn't know there was anything else really, but, and I progressively got a little faster, and I kept thinking, well, maybe I can break, the 21-minute mark and then the 20-minute mark. And, I got down in the 19s and I won a race and I thought, I don't want to work this hard. Like, this is a lot of work for a 3-mile race.
True story.
And I thought, I don't know how much better I'm going to get. I've been running 5Ks for a year. And so I thought, well, I won one. I'm cool with that.
Retire as like you said, retire as a champ.
Well, and it is a lot of work. I mean, that's the bottom line. The reason that you get to be this fast and don't get to be that fast is because it takes a lot of work to get that fast, consistent work. And I'm not willing to put in that kind of work. It hurts.
Yeah, and I was telling my wife the other day, we were talking about at one year I was going to qualify for Boston. And I think you mentioned that a little bit ago. I'm just not going to be that fast. But when I thought I could, I was at the track like 3-4 times a week on top of being at the CrossFit gym 5 days a week. And it's just very time consuming. And I got really fast. Like I could run, a 20-minute 5K. I could run, really fast. My 800s were like, I could do 8 of them under 3 minutes, at the track. And I was consistent with it, but it still wasn't good enough to get me to a 3:10 marathon. And I just didn't want to, I just don't want to do that. I could probably do it if I wanted to, but even more training.
Yeah.
It's just, I totally get what you're saying. You gotta, if you really want that goal, you have to spend the time to make that happen.
Yeah, I admire the people that do. I've had several people I've coached through the years. They've Boston qualified. And we'll build a plan, and you have to, there is no deviation. And if you do, you have to understand that there's a price to pay for that.
Now, when you do your ultras now, are you on a plan?
I used to be. I used to have a structured, speed work, tempo work, long run, strength training. So whether it's hills or what it might be, I used to have more structured, for a long time. I kept thinking I wanted to break the 8-hour mark on a 50-miler, and just some of the kind of the big ultra goals. And then again, life happens and jobs happen and kids, and kid starts college, and you're football games for 4 months out of the year. So, your training kind of goes out the window. So it just becomes about, run what you can when you can, and hope that it's enough to get you through the race.
Well, you seem very cool with that. Like, was it hard for you to let go that maybe I'm not going to do an 8-hour 50-miler?
Yeah, I think there's part of me that would still like to get there. I don't know that I will in the next couple of years. But, for now, I've just accepted that, I'll run as fast as I can for as long as I can. And if the race falls apart, falls apart.
I bet you could go to Tunnel Hill in November and bust 8 hours.
Well, it require legit training.
Yeah, nobody wants to do
You
that.
don't think you're in 50-mile shape right now?
Oh, I probably
Or you're
actually.
just-
So I'm doing ruts. So Steve Durbin, the same guy that does Tunnel Hill, has a series called Run Under the Stars. So it's 3 races, varying locations. It's a 10-hour night race. So you start at 8 o'clock at night, run until 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's 3. That's a series of 3 races. I didn't realize that.
So there's 3 now.
There's one in Kentucky, right?
Yeah. So there's one in East Tennessee, one in Kentucky, and one in Southern Indiana. The one in Kentucky is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. It's June 9th or 10th, something like that. It's been a couple of years since I've done it. I'm just now coming back, off injury. I just, ran a 60K. Well, I say ran, completed 60K at a timed race a couple weekends ago. And I thought, it'd be a good place to shoot for a 50 just to get my 50 legs under me. So yeah, Tunnel Hill or at Ruts, I'll shoot for a sub 10 50-miler just to mentally get myself geared for the distance, and to know what the gap is, right? So I'll know 30 miles in whether or not I'm anywhere
on
close.
10-hour pace.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if not, then you just suffer as far as you can, and as long as you can.
For me, that's the start line to the finish line.
Just suffer to wake up, suffer to get to the starting line, and the
It
rest
is.
is just suffering.
I've had a couple of DNFs. A couple years ago, I was injury prone. I was hammering away ultras, 2 and 3 a weekend in some cases, and just it caught up. And I had 3 DNFs in a row, one in September, one in October, and then one in November. And after that, I thought, you know what, this is dumb.
Oh man.
So I laid off of running for a couple months, healed up, got well, and then kind of went back to the beginning. Short road running, working on form, working on speed, working on the mechanics of running, and just kind of slowly came back.
Do you appreciate the way that you run now with less of a monkey on your back than
It is.
you enjoy it more than you did 2 years ago?
It is, and I look for venues that are not big venues. There's always gonna be fast guys or fast girls wherever you go, and that's great. But if I can find a small race that's under 100 people, it's my kind of place.
I like
Go-
those too.
Go out and hang out, and because you get to meet most of the people there. You go to race. I think we ran Mississippi Blues Marathon one year together,
Yep.
and that was a great race. But there's so many people.
Right.
There's thousands of people, and you might get to talk to 5 or 6 people on the course. And it was a great time. It was a good course, neat place, but it's just not the same atmosphere. Because again, most people at a road marathon are chasing something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a PR or Boston qualifier, whatever it is they're chasing, most people have a goal and a purpose to that. Whereas in the ultra space, a lot of people are out there just seeing if they can get through.
Well, but you're one of those fast people. You're one of those when people know you, people recognize you and are familiar with you. And I remember the first time that I saw you, you were wearing your Blazing Asian shirt. I told Vaughn, I said something about, is that Matt? I'd heard your name through maybe Trace McIntyre or somebody. And Vaughn was like, and he's blazing too. And you've always just been so welcoming and so nice, when you could be so arrogant. You talked about these races can be so stuffy, and there's so much ego involved at some of these races that it's nice to have somebody who is, considered a fast runner to welcome people to the sport. I think that's important.
It is. I for whatever reason, I have the ability to run. I don't think it was I think it's just dumb luck. But I was, a overweight fat guy, right? I mean, it wasn't easy, and it was terrible for a long time. I see people out every spring, right? So every spring, like clockwork, man. New Year's resolution. You see all the new gear out, and everybody's out. The first warm day after Christmas or New Year's. And there's a lot of people out there just miserable, and they're suffering, and they are. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of people I've seen through my neighborhood over the years. There's a lady who's probably lost 100 pounds over the last 3 years, and I've watched her evolve over time. First she walked, and she looked like everything hurt, and she hated it. And I saw her the other day out running, and she, I passed her, and I saw her again an hour later. She was still running. And whether she knows what she's done or not, that motivates me still. 7 years later, that's probably more motivational to me than watching somebody win Boston. I love watching Boston, right? I mean, I love the big races. I do. But watching somebody overcome that personal struggle, knowing what it took to get there 3 years later, knowing where she started, in her, terrible baggy sweatsuit and, 10-year-old sneakers, to cranking out 10 miles on an average day, like that takes serious, legitimate dedication. So kudos to her. And maybe she'll never run a race, and that's cool too, right? I mean, if we only measured our success by medals on the wall, I have failed miserably.
Well, and like we talked about before with the some of the people that come on here are elite runners and elite competitors at what they do. And then a lot of them are people that, have just overcome adversity. And, I can't relate to the guy that cuts his marathon time from 3:50 down to 38. I know that's a big cut, and I know that takes a lot of work, but I don't know anything about that. I can relate to the guy that what you're talking about can make it from one house to the next and then works his way up to making it to the stop sign. And I think there's probably more people that can relate to that than can relate to.
But that's the more interesting conversation anyway.
I think so.
You know, most of the people that are winning marathons and running sub 2 hour marathons, they've just been this way forever.
Yeah.
Like
Well, there's movies about those guys and books about those guys and magazine articles about those guys.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You know, or it's some rich guy that's got all this time to do whatever he wants to do, and he can just run all day long every single day. But he doesn't have any kids. Like, we're not like that. You know, like, we've got families and we have jobs and we have things that we have to go do. We can't just go run 4 hours every single day and dedicate 2 days, 2 a days, 3 or 4 times a week to becoming the competitive athlete that those people
I was
are.
talking to Amanda about that. I'm pretty in tune with where I am as a, quote unquote athlete. I like to go to the gym. I like to work out. I like to stay busy, blah, blah, blah. I like to eat nachos and I like to, lay around. And I'm pretty aware of the parameters that I'll most likely stay inside with the amount of work that I do. And Amanda was getting frustrated with herself at one point in time where she was. And, it was just the awareness of, you got to think you're working 10-hour days at a hospital. You're taking off work to go to kids' graduations. You're coaching, at 4:00 in the morning. A lot of people, you can only get so far. A lot of people that are trying to get from here to here have a lot more luxuries and a lot more time, to work with. And
Amanda sent me a text this morning and said, "You did really good at the gym this morning." I was like, yes, that just totally made me feel awesome and then she spoke to that. What you're saying is like, oh, his work has been crazy lately and it's just so hard to, and I was like, dude, I've been in like the largest funk of my life for the last year almost. And like, I think I'm finding my way out of it, but it's just like, if you step back and look, you can't, okay, I'm going to go train whatever. Well, all of a sudden you get a text where, well, your son has a basketball game at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Okay, well, I'm going to do that instead. You have to adjust to those things, and then you have to take him in the morning. You can't. You're not going to go.
Your life isn't your own sometimes.
You're not going to. Sometimes you have to just. But at the same time, you have to step back and realize, I don't suck because my son has a basketball game.
Right.
Like, I think it's awesome that my son has a basketball game, and that's more important than anything else that could possibly be going on around me, whether, it's whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like that's step back and realize, holy crap, I've got an awesome son who is really good at basketball and is playing these things. Like, that's not in the way. That is the thing. And then you make things
that
fit
is
around
the
that
way. Yeah.
That's more important.
And someday a bunch of people aren't going to be cluttered around your casket, laying you in the ground, and Jackson crying and going, "My dad was such a good deadlifter."
Right.
What do you really want out of your life? Is to be like an awesome gym rat, or you want to be the guy that's at all your kids' games?
Right.
And there is that. And it's hard to compare yourself to those people that don't have to do those things. And I think there's a big reality check that all of us need at different times as far as what our goals are and how realistic they were to begin with.
Right.
And how bad we want them. Matt, there's something that you have written in your biography. You're an excellent writer, by the way. I read your race reports, and I always enjoy those, and you're just really good with words. And at the bottom of something, your last race report, I guess you did an 8-hour timed race in Florida recently. And it said, "I was not born with natural running ability or gifted with extraordinarily physical capabilities. I was, however, granted a phenomenal tolerance for pain and seemingly endless aptitude for suffering." And I just love that because that's all you that's really the best thing you can have. You can be granted with all the athleticism in the world and just not like to get uncomfortable, and it's just not going to be the thing for you. And you can get out there and you can really be a pretty moderately crappy runner and be willing to endure a lot of pain and hang in there with just about anybody.
It is. Ultra running especially. It's almost the pre-quote, right? He doesn't race to see who wins. He runs to see who has the most guts. And in some cases, ultras, that's really what it is. It's who's willing to suffer the most. And if you're not willing to throw down that gauntlet, you might as well tap out early, because there is some guy out there who's going to suffer, who's willing to suffer more than you are. And that's okay too, right? I mean, my hat's off to all those, I came in 7th overall after a 3-month layoff. So I didn't really feel bad.
This was the couple weekends?
Yeah.
Couple weekends ago?
Yeah. It wasn't a great race. It wasn't, pretty or fast or anything to write home about, but it was a good, solid, force myself to get out there and stay out there. Because I want to tap out at like 2 hours. 2 hours. And I was thinking, this is dumb. Like, there's no shade. It's, it's already hot. We're running on an asphalt circle, and even though it's really pretty, it's a picturesque horse farm and horse property. And the people were nice, really nice. But at 2 hours in, after not running for 3 months, that is not a fun place to be.
Just a 1 mile loop?
Yeah, 1 mile loop. And it was even less fun at 3 hours and 4 hours. And, but, so as I got through it, I kept thinking, about all the people that I know who have gone after something, right? Whether they decided they wanted to do CrossFit, or whether they wanted, lift weights, or whether they wanted to run, or whatever it was they decided they wanted to do. And everybody has had to suffer, right? If you want to do something, you're going to have to suffer at some point. And so, that's kind of what I think about when I'm out there and I'm really in the dregs of of the race. And I think, man, I don't want to do this. I just want to go lay down in the shade somewhere and be done. I think about all those people who continue to suffer and who are willing to work. And at the end of it, when you run as much as you can run in the time that they give you, you got to be okay with that. You got to make your peace with it.
How do you feel about your strength training? You've probably put on 15 pounds of muscle since the last time I've seen you.
So usually in the winter I just get fat, right?
Uh-huh.
Like that's just, protocol starting about October, because my excuse is like, oh, hey, it's ultra season, so I can eat like a total idiot for the next 6 months. Except, if you get injured, you still eat like a moron, but you're not running.
Right.
And so, Thanksgiving adds 3 pounds, Christmas adds 4 pounds, and, New Year's adds another 2 pounds. And so, you kind of have the fluffy effect over the holidays. And, it kind of happened this year. I after Tunnel Hill, my leg was absolutely trashed, couldn't run, but, still eating like I was running ultras. So in January, when I retried running and I blew up at that race, I thought, I can't just keep putting on weight because, it's not useful weight.
Right.
So I broke out I went and bought a $3 pulley from Home Depot, and I anchored it in my ceiling, and I took a bunch of oil jugs and old brake rotors and antifreeze jugs and
Nice.
I need to show you this video.
and started doing strength work and weight work in the garage. And I thought, I don't really have an excuse to not do it. I've got time because I'm not running. I'm not really a gym guy. I think the gym's a great thing for people. I'm just not a gym guy. I think part of being a wrestler is wrestling is a singular sport. The accountability rests solely on your shoulders and nobody else's. Your team can't help you. Your coach can't help you. It is you and that other person for 2 minutes. And if you slacked off, you're gonna get the crap kicked out of you for 2 minutes if you make it that long. So you can choose to try and beat somebody in 2 minutes, or just take a whooping for 2 minutes. And so I think because of that, it's a different mentality when I decide to channel my energies, whether it's core work or strength work. It's just me and whatever it is that's going on for for 2 minutes. So I lift 3 days a week now. I do core work 2 other days a week, and I'm still trying to run 5 days a week. And
Is this the strongest you've been?
it is. This is by far the strongest I've been.
Have you upgraded from antifreeze jugs?
I did. I broke down. My kids, were like,
With
"Dad,"
more antifreeze drugs.
So I broke down and went to Walmart and cringed when I had to go buy plate weights, but I did it. And so yeah, I have a fairly legitimate weight setup now, mostly because I ran out of enough old oil jugs. I just didn't have enough weight.
Do you like the feeling? Do you like being strong?
I do. You know what? I noticed a difference at this race. I've always been what I would consider probably fit or in shape.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I ever really felt that strong. But I will say, even at the end of the race, as tired as I was, I felt okay. And I think a lot of that was just the additional, fitness and wellness aspect of a more balanced program. Where, I looked back in 2014, I think, when I had peaked marathon running. I looked at a picture and, I was wafer thin. And I remember getting on the scale after the race. I PR'd, and I had dropped under 120 pounds. And I thought, man, that's probably not where I should be. And so I fought for a long time to, when I moved to the ultra space, to put weight on, because I figured, man, I don't think I can make it through a 50 miler with zero extra fuel. Like, I don't think it's a good idea. So, I added some weight over time and like I said, kind of get, fat through the holidays and then try and run it off in the spring. But now it's more, it's a more balanced program. I adjusted my diet. I looked at the macros that I was consuming, shifted more protein, cut out a lot of the, cut out the sugars. I think sugar is the killer for everybody, right? I mean, just because it inundates everything we eat, everywhere, all over the place. So just whittling away at the sugars was a big one. Cutting out some of the, the cheap carbs, right? So no honey buns and no no Star Crunch and, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's got to go.
Star Crunches are good.
I was just thinking the Star
I was
Crunch
like,
sounds really
So,
Look,
but,
Star Crunch.
I have some around for the kids, but, just refraining myself
For the
from
kids.
going and rummaging in the cabinet at like 11 o'clock at night.
Is there a side of you that worries, that concerns yourself, that you like the muscle side of it and wants to put running?
Well,
On the back burner?
I'm worried about the balance.
Yeah.
Right? I think that for me at this point, it's how am I going to balance maintaining, adding heavy lifting and trying to lift heavier as I go and still run ultras. And I don't know that I've found that balance yet. I don't know what that's going to be or what it's going to look like. And again, I think most of what I do is all trial and error. And I'm sure I'll probably find some stuff that doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll stop doing that and I'll try something else. And I appreciate that there's a wealth of knowledge out there. I do. And even I think a lot of people that you have had on your shows, help call it out to me that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
That you can lift heavy and still run long. Some of the people, I don't know who she is, but you guys have somebody on your page. She's done some beastly runs, some gnarly 100-milers. And she lifts and power lifts and heavy lifts. And that's impressive. I mean, the fact that you can do both is really impressive. I don't know that I'll ever step foot in a CrossFit gym. Not that I have a problem with them. I think it's a phenomenal, vehicle. I watch the CrossFit Games, right? Because just the level of athleticism that it takes to get there is, extraordinary. But for me, it's more about balance. It is. And
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I think you'll find also that with the added strength training and stuff that you'll get injured less. I mean, not that you're running as many races as you were years ago or whatever when you were getting injured, but you were talking about having a string of injuries at one point, and I think the strength training will probably keep you from getting injured as often.
It is.
Do you have a direction that you would like to go? Do you have goals in mind specifically right now, or are you just kind of in a holding pattern of enjoying running and lifting?
I think it's, so I adjust my weightlifting program every 5 weeks, right? So, I lift the same regimen and muscle groups and weights for 5 weeks, and then I move it up, right? So I'm forcing myself to move up 5-pound increments here and 10-pound increments there. And, so that's been enjoyable, just the evolution of that. And I don't know where it peaks out, right? I don't know when when is 120 pound lat pull as good as I need, or is it 130 or 140? Like, where does that cap out? And I don't really know. You know, I don't do all the heavy lifting, right? So I don't do, you know, deadlifting or, you know, so it's mostly just strength work with dumbbells and what I can do with plate weights. But I enjoy it, and I've seen the benefit both to my running as well as just my overall kind of level of fitness and wellness. You know, I'm probably leaner than I have been in a couple of years. I'm certainly stronger than I have been maybe ever, even in high school. You know, I lifted heavy in high school, obviously for wrestling, but outside of that, I hadn't touched a weight in 25 years, probably before, you know, January of this year.
Well, do you have any bucket goal races that you want to run? Have you done any 100-milers?
I have not. And not so much because, you know, I understand conceptually that I could probably force my way through it, right? I mean, if you're willing to suffer for an extraordinary period of time, you can probably suffer through 100. And I don't mean to make light of the people who have run them, because I don't. For me, it's about the amount of time that it would consume, right? So to legitimately train for a 100-miler is going to consume a year to a year and a half of your time. To train it, run it, and recover consumes 12 to 18 months to really be ready. And right now, there's too many things I want to do with 18 months of time.
Right. I can understand that. Well, we've hit the hour mark. I told you I wouldn't keep you any longer than that. I greatly appreciate you coming on here.
Yes, thank you very much.
I know that there had to have been a breaking point where you're like, if I'm going to have to run into every time I run into Wilson, he's going to bug me about being on this podcast. Sooner or later, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and do it. But you did it, and I appreciate it very much. I love watching you on Facebook. I love watching you as a father. I love watching how you teach your children, and I just think you're a phenomenal guy.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very cool thing you guys are doing here.
Awesome. Well, Lift Heavy Run Long, episode number 100
Woo!
Woo! Is in the books.